Hey, Ollie here. I'm the co-founder of Pre-Product, a pre-order app which lets Shopify and BigCommerce stores take pre-orders. We recently passed 1 million pre-orders taken for merchants, totaling over 85 million in USD. So what we've done is we've taken all of this data from about a million pre-orders and we've put it up in lots of different ways and kind of developed this report of 12 different sections looking at things like country, so like who's taking pre-orders, which countries are placing pre-orders, then also industry, and then things like how are people charging for pre-orders, so upfront or later, and then we've got more kind of specific areas, so like cancellations, discounting. So what I'm going to do is, I think this will be the first of two videos. This video will just go through the report together and kind of have a look at the different areas. And then I want to record a second video trying to pull some lessons from it so merchants can kind of take advantage of this data for their own gain. Okay, cool. So website's just at preproduct.io/1 million pre-orders. And let the intro do its thing. Okay, so we don't need to read the disclaimer. Just talking about how this is data from Shopify and BigCommerce, so it's mostly going to be Western, and it also it's our user base, and we're a product which grows and changes, so it's not completely fair in both of those ways. But anyway, let's dive in. So, how much revenue have pre-orders generated? We've been operating for about 4 years, so you can see here going from 17 to 28 to 31. There's not too much to learn from that. However, there is here, USD accounts for 2/3 roughly of all pre-orders taken. So we can dive into actual countries in a minute, but as an actual currency, USD is by far the biggest. And then we've got some notes about Europe, so growing quite a lot from 21 to 2022. And then we've got some stats about pre-orders in Great British pounds, which are growing quite a bit as well, especially from 2023 to last year. Again, I don't think there's too much to learn here other than the USD is the big one, which I don't think's that much of a surprise. Now we start to get into some more interesting stuff. So which industries take the most pre-orders, looking at what kind of stores are doing well with pre-orders. So straight away I should say, we don't collect what kind of industry a store is. There's ways of finding out, and that's what we've done here. Although you'll notice there's a big unknown block, which we haven't got as frequently for the rest of the report. But ignoring that, we can see apparel is with 16.7% pre-orders, which in itself I think is interesting because 16.7% isn't huge. It means there's lots and lots of different industries, and it's not just for certain niches. So we can go through all of those there, and so there's things like food and drink, home and garden. I don't think any of those ones at the top are really a surprise. Pets and animals maybe, not a total surprise. So how are merchants charging for pre-orders? So here we're talking about whether you charge up front, whether you charge later and vault the customer's card at checkout. So you still send them from checkout straight away, but you vault their card details, then charge them in the future. Or deposit up front, which is kind of a blend of the two, charge them a bit up front, but also vault their card. And then finally capture only, which is our kind of most conservative type of pre-order. You don't send the customer through checkout straight away. Instead, you take their order, take their name, take their email, and then when you're ready to ship, you send them a payment link. And that way you haven't got any stresses about kind of sitting on their money and, having shipping dates blow out. But anyway, so vaulted card, charged later, is the biggest by quite a bit, which isn't that much of a surprise if I think about my day-to-day. But then if we look at vaulted card, actually hasn't been available in Shopify for that long. It was introduced in 2022. So lots of adoption pretty much straight out the gate, which is interesting to see. Then capture only, which is a little bit more surprising, but we see it quite frequently in stores like Japan, for example. There's quite a lot of Japanese hobby stores who will do this kind of thing. They'll just send payment link emails out once they're ready to ship. They seem to be a bit more comfortable with that than taking card details down. And then here's just a little stat saying, like trying to give some actual numbers. So 75,781 pre-order listings. So not pre-orders, listings. Use charge later. Okay, let's go on. When are merchants charging for pre-orders? So this is a little bit like this, where we're talking about the approach. So here we've got 0 days, so they're all charge up front pre-orders, and then the rest of these are a blend of the other three, so pink, yellow, and green. And you can see, I think we've got a stat about it. Yeah, nearly 50% of pre-orders are charged within the first 30 days. So here. But then you see it still goes on quite healthily. There isn't like a big drop off really or anything. And we just stopped showing data at this point. There are pre-orders which keep on going further than the 120 days threshold. So if you are worried about taking pre-orders and you think your ship dates are going to be quite far out or they're a little uncertain, I would just say use one of the kind of pay later, charge later methods, and that's what a lot of these pre-orders will be when you get into the kind of 80, 90 days. Right, now we're into the country section. So which countries take the most pre-orders, geographic distribution of pre-orders by country for the last 1 million pre-orders. Okay, so big purple area there, US, 61.57% of pre-orders. So the US did really well, which isn't really a surprise. Well, it's not a surprise at all. Something that's a little bit more surprising is UK is nearly 10%, which 10% doesn't seem that much, but it's quite good for them to come in second. It wasn't necessarily what I was thinking. And then Mexico surprised me a little bit, which I think says more about me than Mexico. Mexico did really well too, coming in third. And then you've got a lot of these other areas, so Australia shouldn't be a surprise. A lot of Europe. I think we're not representing Europe as well as we might, just because a lot of our merchants are English speaking, although we do work with a lot in Spain. Italy comes up a little bit as well. Germany definitely comes up quite a bit, and Scandinavia does too. So now let's move on to which country to punch above the weight, which again surprised me. American kind of viewers will be happy to see the US stood its ground still, so even adjusting for per capita. So like per capita is, we're basically figuring out, yes, you took a lot of pre-orders, but going by how many people you have in your population, how many pre-orders you're taking, per million people in your country. So that's what this chart is. So we've got Monaco and Jersey, which they're very small countries, so they could, be the pre-order capitals of the world, or it could be because it's just such a small population that swings in the metrics can be quite easy to curb. Going down here, we've got US, Great Britain, so that's that same order from before. And then we've got some others, so Slovenia, New Zealand, and Australia. That doesn't surprise me. Australasia's got a really strong kind of lots of independent, great e-commerce brands. Scandinavia and Sweden in particular did well. And then Canada, which again doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if it was higher than that. And then Netherlands, and then we've got a small unknown block as well. So that was how well countries are doing with pre-orders adjusting for their population size. Now, going on, which countries placed the most pre-orders, looking at which customers placed the most pre-orders segmented by country. And we've got a different sample size, I think, here. So it's 1,013,000 and so on. So you can see we've got a lot more data all over the place for this one. US with far in the lead by placing the most pre-orders. So most pre-orders made by American people or residents. 49%. UK, similar kind of percentage to what they had up there. So they're taking and receiving a similar amount of pre-orders. Germany all of a sudden comes in, which they weren't up above. So again, that might be a little bit more to do with us than Germany, but interesting to see. Australia is quite high, considering we're not adjusting for population. And I think it's less than half the population of the UK. And then Mexico comes in, Canada, Spain. So a couple more European countries in this one. Now we're going to go into some more tactical things again. Obviously, you can't change which country you're based in, well, not easily. So how are products on pre-order priced? And this is all in USD. So the price range for the most pre-orders is $25 to $50, which is 42.7% of total pre-orders. So that is this yellow bar here. And the way we've done it is we've got these yellow bars, which are total number of pre-orders as a percentage. Then we've got this purpley pink bar, and that is pre-order listings. So say you list the kind of red bicycle, that's one listing, and you might get 10 pre-orders for it. That's 10 pre-orders. So these are all in percentages though. And you can see that it's not like a huge drop off or anything apart from the real low price products, which generally don't do super well, like as lower prices, $10, for example, or don't do too well with pre-orders, I should say. But you can see that even at the 250 plus mark, there's still plenty of kind of revenue, plenty of numbers and stuff. And I haven't done the maths, but that might even be comparable in kind of total value, the 25 range and the 250 range, once you multiply by price. So that I found quite interesting. And then there's a breakdown there, and we can kind of see how it's a bit fatter around there. Then it starts to drop off a little bit. Next, how long do pre-orders take to ship? So this is more about how long merchants say the product's going to take to ship. Like, so they're saying we're going to ship in July, but we're not actually getting shipping data. So if they did actually ship in August, that's not represented here. It's stated shipping date, which is normally held, but I just want to mention that. So the most common shipping time frame is 121 to 150 days, 28.1% of our sample size. Now, I think that would be quite surprising to some people, because we often talk to merchants and they think that pre-orders have to be, received or shipped within like a month. But with the biggest kind of bracket being well past that, I think this is quite an eye-opening one. Okay, moving on. Do merchants discount pre-orders? This one I was really happy to see. So, I'll talk about the results first and then why I think it's important. So 90.4% of pre-orders are not discounted explicitly. So most pre-orders by far are sold at their full RRP, which makes sense because the product hasn't been out in the market yet. It's not old, or you haven't got stock which has been on the same shelf for a year. But I think this is really encouraging because there's lots of merchants and stores out there who just rely on kind of discounts to sell product, and they really hate that they're in this kind of habitual cycle. So I think pre-orders could actually play a really good kind of important role in starting to sell earlier, So you've got more of a period where you're not discounting, and then your regular buy now period will start, and maybe you've already been selling for 2, 3, 4 months. So hopefully there's less of a kind of instinct or kind of pull to discount. So number 10, discounts. I thought that was really interesting. Number 11, how many pre-orders get cancelled? My co-founder told me I shouldn't put this in, but I thought it was the right thing to do. I think 7.1%. I don't know. I would guess that's similar to buy nows. So pre-orders definitely do get cancelled. It's not all of pre-orders or anything like that. It's not even 10% of pre-orders. What was the biggest? I think 2023. Yeah, 7.1% is the highest percentage of pre-orders that were cancelled. So that's cancellations. And then finally we've got, do stores allow mixed carts of buy now and pre-order items? So with pre-orders, there's this question that you often have to answer as a merchant when you're setting it up, and that's whether you're going to allow customers to buy a mixed cart of pre-orders and buy now items. And then if you do allow that, are you going to charge shipping twice? Or are you going to swallow one lot of shipping and ship kind of the buy nows first and then a month later ship the pre-orders? Or are you going to hold off shipping all the items in the order until the pre-order items are ready? So that's if you decide to allow mixed carts. If you decide not to allow mixed carts, all of that just kind of gets answered for itself, and you just ship once the pre-order order is ready, and you've only charged one shipping charge at checkout to the customer, but that's all you need. So there's kind of 2 ways to handle this, and 62.1% of merchants don't allow mixed orders, which is pretty high, I think, considering you can't assume all merchants would know the software has options to kind of handle this and isolate pre-orders. So I think that's quite high. We work with lots of big stores who do allow mixed orders, and it's completely possible, and we've got kind of guides on the different ERPs and how you can, make a flow which works for you. But I thought that was quite interesting that still the majority don't allow mixed orders of buy now and pre-order items. Cool. So that was all of it. That's all the data we kind of put together. I'm going to try and record a part 2 so we can pull some lessons together and hopefully make this even more actionable for growing your store in 2025. Cool. Thanks.